This is your host, Danny, and this is a new Common Mistakes episode from English Plus Podcast. In today's episode, we're going to talk about common mistakes we usually make using the word vote. So, without further ado, let me start with our common mistakes and let me explain to you how you can spot the mistake and, more importantly, how you can fix the common mistakes. So, the first two examples. Next year, a new president will be voted. And another example. On the day of the vote, they couldn't be bothered to go and vote. Well, this one sounds awkward. You can tell there is something wrong in the sentence. Well, obviously, the use of the word vote here is wrong. Now, let me talk about the word vote. What does it mean? Now, vote means show which person or which course of action you prefer, especially by marking a piece of paper or raising your hand. For example, who will you be voting for at the next election? That's fine. You can use it this way. Or 53% of Danes voted in favor of the Maastricht Treaty. That's also okay. So this is how you can use the word vote. But you can tell that we use them in a different way and obviously in a wrong way. So what do we use instead? I will introduce you to two different words. Maybe not new words for you, but two words that we should have used instead. The first word is elect, not vote, elect. And that means to choose a leader or representative by voting. For example, Roman Catholic cardinals are meeting at the Vatican to elect a new pope, not to vote a new pope. To elect a new pope, to choose a leader or representative by voting. And the other word that obviously comes from elect, it's election. It's an occasion when people vote. For example, who's going to win the next election? Not the next vote, the next election. It's the occasion when people vote. So let's go back to those two examples I gave you. The first example, I said next year, a new president will be voted. And we know by now that this is not the way to go. What should we say instead? We should say next year, a new president will be elected. Not voted, will be elected, will be chosen by voting. That's what I want to say. So the word is elect, not vote. The second example, I said on the day of the vote, they couldn't be bothered to go and vote. Well, obviously, as I told you, it sounds awkward. There's something wrong. On the day of the vote, they couldn't be bothered to go and vote. What does that mean? Here, it's not the day of the vote. There's nothing in the world that is the day of the vote. On the day of the election, that's the way to go. They couldn't be bothered to go and vote. They couldn't be bothered to go and vote is fine, but on the day of the election, not on the day of the vote. Let me give you another example. People are not allowed to vote more than one candidate. What's wrong with that? It's okay, vote a candidate. That's what we said, how we could use vote. And it is correct, except for one thing. You don't say vote somebody. You vote for somebody. You should use for after vote. So instead of just saying people are not allowed to vote more than one candidate, you should say people are not allowed to vote for more than one candidate. Nothing's wrong with the word itself, but we should use for. Let me give you one final example. Every night they voted what they would do the next day. What's wrong with that? Should we say for? Maybe we should say every night they voted for what they would do the next day. Well, not exactly. If you are talking about a particular question or issue, you say vote on. Remember, in the example before, I was talking about a person, so I said vote for somebody, but vote on a particular question or issue. Obviously, we cannot just use vote just like that. We need a preposition after it, but here, because we're not talking about a person, we're talking about a particular question or issue. And here the question or the issue is what they would do the next day. Every night they voted. What should we say for or on? It's on, because here we're talking about a particular question or issue. Every night they voted on what they would do the next day. So we vote for people, we vote on particular questions or issues. Don't forget that. And that is our common mistake for today, folks. I hope you learned a thing or two in today's episode of Common Mistakes. Another day, another common mistake. Don't forget that you will learn to spot common mistakes and fix them every day with Common Mistakes from English Plus Podcast. This is your host, Danny. Thank you very much for listening to another episode from English Plus Podcast. I'll see you next time.